Historically, when you thought about buying a diesel car, the Germans were always top of mind. Volkswagen, Audi, Mercedes, BMW, because they were the only ones that offered a diesel.
Until now. Have you ever considered an American diesel? For example, the Chevy Cruze. Well, that's right. GM is the first non-German automaker to bring a diesel to our shores. In fact, they even beat the Mazda 6 that's due out sometime in 2014. Of course, GM sells diesel cars around the world, but making one work here in North America is a major feat due to the strong emission standards that we have. So adding urea injection to the exhaust system reduces the tailpipe fumes to legal levels.
And the Cruze is a good candidate to drop a diesel engine into it because it's already one of the best-selling cars in the country, currently ranked number 5 behind the Honda Civic, the Elantra, the Corolla, the Mazda 3, and then it's the Cruze. So this car is in tight with some tough competition. A big reason for the success of the Cruze is the size and design. A handsome car that is just a shade under the size of the Jetta, the biggest car in this class, providing a big and comfy cabin and a large trunk.
Now, the diesel Cruze is not going to be the volume seller. The gasoline version will be. This one is substantially more expensive. It's got a starting price of just under $25,000. Now, to be fair, the Volkswagen Jetta diesel is $1,000 less than this one, but the Cruze comes with a standard automatic transmission where Volkswagen doesn't. Other standard features include 17-inch alloy wheels, 4-wheel disc brakes, leather steering wheel and heated leather seats with 6-way power for the driver, plus the 7-inch MyLink screen in the center of the car that includes Bluetooth and voice commands. This Cruze diesel is packaged very similar to the 2LT trim level on the gasoline version.
So compared to the 2LT, which is the closest comparison, it's about a $3,500 premium to get the diesel engine. But one thing that's true about the diesel and the regular gasoline car is it has a fabulous interior, easy to use, nice materials. That's always been the case with the Cruze.
When we come back after the break, we're going to take this Cruze out on Before the break, we looked at some of the highlights of the new Chevy Cruze diesel. If you missed any of it, you can always go to drivingtelevision.com. And now we get behind the wheel. This Cruze is powered by a direct injection 2-liter turbocharged 4-cylinder diesel engine. It has 151 horsepower and 264 pound-feet of torque. The Volkswagen Golf and Jetta, in comparison, have less power at 140 horsepower and 236 pound-feet of torque. This Cruze is rated at 7.5 liters per 100K in the city and 4.2 in the highway. We'll get to our real-world consumption numbers at the end of this review. The extra power is one of the reasons buyers choose diesel over gasoline. The low-end torque and improved drivability is worth a small premium over the gasoline version. Plus, it saves fuel. Driving the diesel version of the Cruze is actually very similar to driving the gasoline version. It's got a nice steering feel and overall has a very comfortable, solid and planted ride to it. Now, because of the turbo engine, there is a little bit of lag when you get the vehicle going from a stop. Now, once you get moving forward though, there's adequate torque and there's actually quite impressive passing power at higher speeds.
Now, one difference between the Volkswagen products and this Cruze is that the Jetta and the Golf use an independent rear suspension, where this is a torsion beam design. Now, granted, the car does feel solid on the road, and this advantage from Volkswagen is really a new one because the Jetta, until 2014, also had a torsion beam suspension, and that car sold very well. The Cruze, as mentioned, only comes standard with a 6-speed automatic and no manual is offered. It would be nice to get a manual, as these small diesels are fun to drive with a stick. Now, we're at idle now, and you do notice right away that this Cruze is not as refined as the German competition, especially Volkswagen. Idle's a little bit lumpy. You put your foot on the throttle and you start to pull away and you feel that the engine smooths out. And that's often the case with a lot of vehicles when they have a lumpy idle. As soon as you put acceleration on, it smooths right out. The second thing you notice right away, that this is a much noisier diesel engine than the competition. When you're cruising along at steadier, higher speeds, you know, really is not that bad. It's when you're into the throttle, under acceleration, you can hear the thump of that diesel engine. Now that's one area that General Motors could improve in this vehicle, and that's putting more sound deadening insulation into the vehicle. They could also add what they have in the Equinox. It's the sound canceling system that Bose has developed for General Motors, which removes the low resonant vibration sort of noises, and it really does work. So that's something they could implement to make this vehicle quite a bit quieter.
Well, we'll get to our real world mileage in just a second, but in the meantime, Zach, what did you like and not like about the diesel Cruze?
Well, a lot of what I like about the diesel Cruze, I like about the regular Cruze, which is the way it drives. It is such a smooth and comfortable car to drive. The seats are comfortable. It's a good size inside. It's got a nice size trunk. It handles very well, even though it doesn't have independent rear suspension. They did a great job with the Cruze, and there's no wonder why it's the top 5 in sales in our country. And then you add in the features that the Cruze comes standard with: 17-inch alloy wheels, automatic transmission, heated seats, roughly the same as the 2LT trim level with the gasoline. And then the hope that you would get better fuel economy, that's a plus as well. On the downside, it's noisier than the German competition. There's no doubt about that. The engine doesn't feel as refined, and there's no manual transmission. But I think that they're heading in the right direction. You have to applaud General Motors for even offering a diesel in this car. What do you like and not like about it?
Well, you know what, Zach? I agree with a lot of those things. It's a very handsome, good-looking car on the outside, and I absolutely love the interior. It's very comfortable, it's got a lot of power, and you know what? It's definitely a highway car. And on the downside, there is a lot of diesel noise when you're sitting at idle. Now onto our real-world consumption numbers. I probably drove the car most of the time when we had it the last couple of weeks, and it was probably 98% city driving. And I managed 10.2 liters in mostly city driving, which is not that great.
Yeah, and the rating, by the way, is 7.5 liters in the city. But you know what, the way the calculation is done in Canada is kind of flawed, but regardless, that's not great, Leadfoot. So the question is, if you're going to buy a diesel, are you going to take a flyer on the first General Motors diesel in many decades, or go back to the Germans with the tried and true?
You know what, Zach, I have to be honest, if I was going for diesel, I'd probably go with the Volkswagen just because they have that history there. But you know what, this Cruze with the gasoline engine, it's a great car, so we've got some options.
They sell a lot of them. I'm not sure how many diesels they're going to sell, but the Cruze is still going to be a top seller in Canada.
Want more? Extended reviews of many of our segments are available online at drivingtelevision.com.